little. She's stressed. That's why she's doing the tail thing. She's not happy. I mean, if she was a dog, she was happy, but she's kind of nervous. Nervous is the right thing. So I was actually thinking to, at some point, to, even though I like it in New York and in the US, to go back to Europe. Because it's just that I am from Europe, and sometimes I feel like I want to go home. I'm very surprised to feel like that, because when I left home, I just wanted to get out. And now I feel like I want to go back, because there's lots of things that I'm missing about it. So I don't know, it's the age, I'm getting old. I guess that's why. It's actually, I had this conversation with a friend of mine very recently, who says that the United States is a great country because you are free, you get what you want, and then especially I found out that what he likes the best about the United States is you pay very little tax. So he was talking about, you just pay 25% of tax, and this is much less than anywhere else in the world. And then I was asking him, but yeah, okay, this is fine to pay little tax, but what do you get out of it? I mean, the tax money is for the government, and they do something out of that money. I mean, 25% of your earning is a lot of money. So what do you get out? I mean, in other countries, you pay much more tax, but you get something back. Which, like, for example, you can go to university and you don't have to pay for that. Or there's a healthcare system which takes care of you, or there's a pension system which takes care of you, and all this does not exist in the States. And that's actually something that I'm start to question more and more if it's just the right thing or not. I mean, last night, for example, there was in front of my house there was a lot of noise, and I looked out. There was one police car standing, and just because of one person doing some bullshit, I don't know exactly. And then after 15 minutes, it got really noisy. There were lots of sirens and lots of lights, and I looked out of the window again. There were 10 police cars standing around just because of one person. And then I think, okay, 25% tax money is not much, but where does it go? It goes into the police. So we live in a secure country, rather than in other countries where the tax rate is higher, which goes to a social system to kind of catch people that need help. But no, this system just works like that it does not matter. This government does not really need to help people. Because of that, some people become violent, and because of that, you need much more police, which doesn't make sense to me at all. So certain things go around my head, and I think that does not make a lot of sense. It's much easier to find a job because it's easier for people for companies to hire people, but it's also much easier for them to fire them again. So in a way, yes, when you're young, it's easy. It's a great country because you have a job, and lots of your loan is for you. You don't have to give it to someone. But the older you get kids, then you start thinking about that it maybe does not make so much sense to be in a country that's so free, because actually, aren't we all humans who actually want to help each other? There's like certain individuals are very lucky and have good jobs and good salary, and others don't. But isn't it the idea that we all kind of live together and help each other out? So that's why I start questioning if that's the right system where we are at. Anyways, and the summers are too hot in this country, in this city. I mean, this is a humidity of, what is it, 90 or 80%? Yeah. It is insane. This is a great thing about this country, that you can go to many different places, but it's where you have very different environmental kind of things. You can go to the mountains, you can go to very different places, and there's different people, and it's kind of easy to get around because everyone speaks the same language. It's not like, for example, in Europe, you go on the plane, you fly somewhere for like a half hour, and you are in a completely different world. So that's actually not the case here, which has advantages because you can settle down in different places. People also tend to move much more around in the United States than in Europe. People in Europe, kind of, because they're in small countries, tend to stay in this kind of small environment. But the cool thing about Europe is you go on a plane, you fly somewhere for 1 hour, and you're in a different world, which you can have a fantastic weekend somewhere else, where you can just see a very different culture, and you don't have to put too much effort into having this. So both good and bad things about all that. It's always, isn't it always that you want what you don't have? When I was in Germany, I kind of, oh yeah, I want to go to the States, that's really cool. And now I'm in the States and I kind of feel like I want to go back. So it's like, I think you always think about what you had before, and you always miss things that you had before or that you could have. So yeah, but I can come visit unless Trump does not want to see Germans anymore, which you never know. I mean, he kind of started to say, okay, certain people are not allowed to come. I'm not sure how far that goes. We'll see. You never know. You never know. I mean, we don't pay 2% money of our income into the NATO. He doesn't like that. So maybe he will. No, to be honest, I don't think so. I don't think so. We should be fine to visit at least. But when I was thinking about how many years will I stay here, I said 1, and now it's 10. So I don't know how much that counts. The truth of the belief, or the truth of economy, or the truth of what exactly? Is it what they think, or is it how you should think about them? Is it, what do the people think? Do they think what happens in their current life, or is it what they should think because they are supposed to be very smart? What are you drinking? Red wine? Do you know where it's come from? The red wine? Is it there? It's good. It's good.
Right. These are rolling papers, and this is a nice package because it has the filter in it as well. I got this at a bodega in Bushwick. Bodegas in Bushwick have everything. I mean, you could use it for tobacco, sure. I think most people probably use it for weed. That would be my guess. I mean, that's what I use it for. I don't smoke tobacco anymore. I did at one point. Yeah. So yeah, so I guess I'll just break some of this up, and this particular one is called Skywalker. After like Star Wars, and it's an indica, which tends to be more relaxing and more of affects like more of like the body. So people kind of like to use it at night, maybe not so much in the daytime, and it helps with appetite and things like that. Yeah. Oh, so okay, yeah, like some of the others, sure, like, yeah, I mean, some of the other options, on the other end of the spectrum, you would have like a sativa, which is like better for daytime use, it's like more uplifting. Sure, some people like to indulge before or during work, and yeah, that would probably be the better option if they were going to. I would love some more, something else to drink. Let's do that. In this moment, since I don't have a grinder, I'm just doing it by hand, so yeah, it takes a little longer, but that's fine. Oh, I mean, that I suppose that depends on the day, or the occasion. But tonight, I guess we're doing. This is our second one. I do some freelance stuff. I do some production stuff with some like DJ events and things like that with some friends. So like, what are some like interesting statistics that you've gotten out of crunching that data? Like anything particularly stand out about like what people are drawn to? I'm sorry, it's so hot in here. Yeah. I need a lighter. Where can we get a lighter? So I'm gonna light it now. Okay. I don't think so. I mean, New York does have very limited, like, medicinal permissions, but I don't think actual like pot is a part of that. I think it's like oil and edibles and things like that. But they're getting there. I'm sure they'll get there one day. I mean, I think the movement is like definitely going in that direction, and it's just people need to sit with it for a bit before they're comfortable enough to kind of let it go through. But I mean, the tide is definitely changing, so it'll happen. I don't think next year, but possibly sooner than 5 years. Yeah, it's good. You tell me. You going right there, huh? Yeah, I have tattoos. I was 22, and I got a full moon on my chest, a blue full moon on my chest. Because I had a very significant experience when I was like 18. Yeah. And that was a part of it. That's as far as I'm going to go into it right now. That's as far as I'm going to go into it right now. I don't know if that singular experience said it was always something I was drawn to, just naturally. I don't really know exactly why, but I don't know, it's just something I was always interested by. I remember my aunt one time, like, and she made a good point. She mentioned, like, you know, this was more of almost like a cautionary tale, but it was like in terms of like permanent alterations. You know, like it's almost like decorating your bedroom. You know, like, no, fundamentally I don't, but I think that she made a good point. I think it's valid. So I mean, I'm talking about like in regards to like permanency. You know, like the bedroom that you want, like as a 15-year-old, isn't necessarily the one you want like when you're 20. You know, or like 30. And I don't know, I think that's something to take into consideration before you do anything permanent. And that's a good point, you know, because like I've even like I have a big tattoo on my leg that I don't necessarily love anymore, and it doesn't like represent who I am or like fit. Yes, absolutely. It was like very much an aesthetic that I was drawn to at that time. But with that said, I wish I would have left it like in black and white. I think black and white is less risky than color. You know, because I think with color you take the risk of not only at some point disliking the image or the content, but then also the color story, right? So it's like twofold, whereas like with black and white, there's less risk involved. You know, it's like somewhere down the line you might dislike the content, but you know, your opinion, you know, on the colors, I don't know, I think it's less likely to change. Absolutely, colors are powerful. Colors are very powerful. They evoke like emotion and mood, and I think they hold huge significance. I don't know if I have a singular favorite color, but I'm drawn to like sort of like rusted out and washed out, like I don't know, more like urban tones, like blacks and whites and like rust, or like you know that like zinc, or is it zinc? You know, like when it turns like green, it's like all those like crazy shades of green. Like I love that kind of stuff. But I don't know if I have like a singular favorite color. But I really dislike blue. I do, but that's more like a depiction of reality. Like I couldn't choose the color of the moon, at least not in that moment. You know, like it was a blue moon and it couldn't be anything other than that. But I have thought about it since then, and thought like, hey, you know, what would be really cool is like a red moon or an orange moon, like a harvest moon, you know, something like that. That would also be a cool aesthetic, like a yellow moon, you know. And then of course you have 3 wolf moon. I'm not sure I understand the question. Would you like some wine?
I am from New York. Um, I was born in London, England. I went to the park with my mom. Oh man, I don't even know what it's called. It's called like Scalzery Park or something in Stamford, Connecticut. Scalzery Park or something. And it's like, yeah, we would just like go there and she would pick 4-leaf clovers. She would get like 8, 9 leaf clovers. She had like so many clovers, it's crazy. I just remember that. Yeah, I have 4 siblings actually. 4. I only grew up with 3 of the 4, and the 4th one is like long lost sister. And the other 3, they were really, I guess it was kind of cool. It was a little crazy, but you know, it's crazy to be the only boy in the family, but it's still pretty cool. Craziest thing, my childhood, I guess, getting attacked by 20 people once. It was just like a random occurrence where like 20 people beat the crap out of me, and it was one of the most profound experiences of my childhood. It's kind of cool, actually. I was 14, and it happened somewhere in Connecticut, and I got like just attacked by these random people, and it was pretty crazy. It was like, you know, when I was young, New York was different back then than it is now. It was a lot more crazy stuff going on, you know, like you know, kid gangs and stuff like that. Like now you don't really see too much of that, and a lot of, you know, like the movie Kids is pretty close to like what it was really like in New York at that time, sort of, a little bit for some people, not quite, but close. Right now I'm just doing like digital art, but that's about it. Like digital paintings and stuff like that. Oil painting. It's really cool. This is really weird. Moment in my life to recreate. I don't know. I don't know which moment. There's a lot of moments I'd like to recreate, to be honest. So I can't pick one. I don't know. I guess getting married would be nice to recreate that. That was a really nice time. I'd like to recreate the moment before I shaved my head by accident while I took sleeping pills, because this was an accident. I don't know. It's probably really, you know, hard to raise kids in the city. I have no idea. You know, it's probably safer than it was when I grew up, but it's still probably weird to have kids in the city. But I guess a lot of people do it and they turn out fine, so whatever. My dad, he's a musician. He's a pretty crazy guy, you know. He wrote a hit song, but I'm not gonna say what it is. I love it. It's like all crunchy and shit. My favorite. Cheese and peppers and stuff. It's amazing. It's the best. You guys will love it. My name is Alan. Generally speaking, I'm from New York. I'm not gonna go into it. I would be a dog at somebody's house who's really cool. That would be the best. I'd probably be a dinosaur. Tyrannosaurus, obviously. Who else wouldn't be? Not as cool as whatever, whatever. It's not as cool. You know it. You know it. Sometimes I dream about crazy shit. And I dream about crazy stuff. It's super crazy. That's like I said. I don't remember, honestly. I'm a little wasted right now, so I have no clue. I can't fill in the blanks, to be honest. I can try. I think it was, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm from the 90s. I like to listen to Helmet and a bunch of other crappy 90s bands. Alice in Chains is pretty cool. The new age bands I like to listen to is Raspberry Bulbs and a few other bands. But generally speaking, like, I'm not really into, I just listen to random music, you know. I'm not even the guy to ask. Actually, I wish I did, but I don't. I would like to say that I did, but I don't. That would be funny as hell if I said that, but I don't. Is this for real, or is this like...
No, it's happening. Alright, what else?
Do I have shit on my face, or like, am I okay? I might look good, okay. Look like a great Eggman with a freaking hairstyle. It was a complete accident. I took a sleeping pill, I buzzed my hair like zzz, and it was like completely over at that point. I wish I had long hair down to my chest or whatever. Stay on his head. Don't let go. It's too late. It's too late.
This guy's hair short again?
I was a long guy hair for a long time. I was a long guy hair for a long time. I had all kinds of... I just buzzed it by accident. It happens.
Let him go.
Oh shit.
I got destroyed. I don't know how to...
I had a dream, and in the dream I was talking to a man who had this very like distinct makeup on his face, where it was just these thick kind of like black lines that came down onto his nose and like around his eyebrows. And they would kind of like shift and mold throughout the dream, and then I had forgotten about it, and the next morning I was scrolling just through Instagram and saw a post of like a runway model wearing the exact same style makeup that the man had in the dream that I had. Just like the same visuals would like pop up. I think it really kind of depends like on the person. Like something that could constitute a connection with one person could be very like different with another. But I think for me, the real connection comes from like hitting an emotion like inside of you that like you both feel at the same time and like resonate with. And that can be like a shared experience or a shared like point of view about something. But I think that's a very kind of like rare thing to happen where like both people have the same emotional response to like a situation or a topic. And when that happens, that's what I consider like a true. I remember I was talking about like art actually, and that was like one of the first things. It was like we were like in a bar or something, and I had like met you like a few times before, and I don't know if you were like showing me like drawings that you did or exactly like what we started talking about, but I just remember this moment of like just seeing like your work and like kind of understanding like what you were trying to do with it and feeling really connected to you like through that and in that moment. That's what I remember from it, yeah. I had like no idea, and I remember just like being just amazed with like how talented you were. I feel like people are mostly the same as each other. I think the differences are the most apparent, and are like the easiest thing to focus on, but I think people are a lot more the same than they realize. And I kind of like we realize. But I think that we also, in our interactions with each other, like focus on the differences and the way that we're different. Like, do you think that people that maybe came from different backgrounds but have shared traumas or experiences are more drawn to each other than people that like maybe grew up in the same place but didn't have the same like social experience? There's part of me that thinks that like as soon as you meet somebody, like it's either kind of platonic or it's romantic, in that like you almost like know as soon as you connect with somebody like where that's going to be, even if it takes time to develop. And I think if I've been in a situation where friends, we like try to develop something romantic and it just like isn't there. I think there's kind of like a spark or like a connection that's missing. And at least like in my experience, anyone that I've been romantically involved with, I really didn't have like a long friendship with like beforehand, because I think that intention was like always there from the beginning, whether or not it was acknowledged. I think maybe the craziest experience of my childhood was just growing up Catholic for like the first like few kind of years of my life, and like all the things that kind of came along with that, and then the shift that came along with realizing that these things like weren't dogmatic and I didn't really believe in them, and then also realizing that like kind of my parents didn't, and so there was this like shift of like identity, right? I think when I was little and going to Catholic school, like you put a lot into the church, and when the shift for me like really young and kind of in like a public school, which I felt for me was a lot more freeing, and growing up in Catholic school as a really little child was I only had really like great experiences with it, and I feel like I kind of like lost a sense of community when we moved, and that was no longer like religion was no longer a significant part of my life. Even though I never really believed in God or Jesus, like as deities, the shift in culture from like private Catholic school to then being in public school and like not having that, I don't know, like that thing outside of the family that everyone like subscribes to and believes in and brings people together. It was an adjustment, and it wasn't, I don't know, I remember missing it like a lot, and trying to get it back but not really believing in the religion. And so it was really hard for me to like find another sense of community outside of something religious. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh, I did. I like so believed in Santa Claus and like all the reindeer, and I so believed in magic. Like I wanted all of it to be real, like just fairies and elves and Santa, like all of that. Tooth Fairy, it's like all about it. But I remember this moment when I was talking to my mom kind of about like what would happen after you die, and she was just like nothing. I think you just go like you rot. You go to nothing. She was always the one like pushing us to go to church, and wasn't really religious in the home, but it was, I remember, very startling for me to like hear that and realize that I agreed with it. But that to me was like honestly more comforting than the idea of eternal life. Like the thought of living forever and having to like do something all over again, whether it be heaven or reincarnation or any kind of life after death. Like I like thinking that it's just, you go to sleep and you don't remember any of it. My find was Jupiter. because it was the biggest and the most beautiful, and I loved the big red spot and the storm. Jupiter is objectively beautiful, and I will challenge anyone to disagree with me. Did I flick you off?
Yeah, flick me off.
Jupiter is the loneliest planet. Like, also, that was what I remember from the concert. He kept saying that lyric like over and over again. Jupiter is the loneliest planet. Do I relate to that? It does with the red spot, which is getting smaller, and eventually it's going to disappear. I don't know, it's just like dissipating. I don't know, it's a gas planet. Gas planets are fucking weird. Think about it. Yeah, it's very possible. I think you think of it more as like a hurricane or like a tropical storm. Like when a hurricane goes away, it doesn't burrow through the planet. It just like, becomes part of the atmosphere. Have you heard about the hollow earth theory? The hollow earth theory is just the theory that the earth is actually hollow, like there is no mantle and there's no core of the earth, and just below the earth's crust is another earth, which is a utopia, like the lost people of Atlantis. I'm not really well versed enough in it to explain, but I think they are celestial light beings. Celestial light beings. They're like people, but okay, so there's NASA has confirmed actually exists, and there have been actually scientists for hundreds of years that have said because the amount of gravity in our solar system doesn't add up. Like there's not enough planets. Like there should be less gravity than there actually is. And so the theory is there's another planet that's orbit is so far, it goes kind of in between Mars and Uranus. There's not this huge ellipsis, and it comes around every couple thousand years. And that sometimes in the next millennia, it will actually pass by Earth and fuck all of our shit up. Saturn is like your father. They call it the Saturn return because that is the moment that Saturn returns to the placement that it was at your birth. After getting cigarettes. Yeah. He leaves for 29 years and he comes back. Hey, I'm back! And then your whole life, you're like, oh, now I know what I want to do. But Saturn is a tester. And through Saturn there was a huge projection of his face, talking and beams of light.
Doritos.
It could be a fact. How does that make any sense?
I just did covering shop guy stuff there, events. We did these tattoo parties that were kind of ridiculous. It's an underground club full of models and weird hip hop dudes. And we just tattooed kids who were underage for a couple $100. Someplace on 2nd Street and Avenue C, I think. I don't know, something like that. No, but you had to be on the list, so you had to be a somebody, hip hop dude or a model. Right now, I'm not doing anything. I moved back to my parents' house for the summer, in between apartments and jobs. So I am just painting, sleeping till 3 o'clock, and eating a lot of really disgusting food. It depends, there's all kinds of lizards. I need some help here, It's really cool, very social lizard, misconception, they actually don't like being in large groups. People always have several of them. They don't like that, Kind of a solitary lizard. They're really social, you can play with them. Like the ones in Florida. I believe they're called anole. ANOLE. They're just really annoying lizards. They have those, they have fence lizards, which is another kind of annoying lizard, they just get in your house and they're really fast. You can't catch them. I don't know why, they're considered pests, but mealworms, crickets, they feed them meat sometimes, depending on how big they are. Usually ground up chicken and beef into a paste and leave that. I never said I did. I said I wanted to talk about lizards. I didn't say any shit about lizards. Well, now I'm drunk and I'm talking about lizards, so. Funny story, I had a gecko. And actually, it wasn't a gecko, it was a skink, different kind of lizard. It was really sick and it had this tumor. And I brought it to the vet, and the vet was like, you know, it's only $600 to do anything to this fucking thing. My mom's like, I'm in like 4th grade. My mom's like, it's a lot of money, Matt. It's a fucking lizard. You bought it in Petco for like $3. And I'm like, I love this thing. She's like, I'm not paying for it. So I brought the lizard home, you know, I was crying, I was sad. And, you know, mom's like, we gotta kill it, you know, it can't eat anymore. And so I took it into the bathroom, wrapped it in a paper towel, and I stepped on it. And it was a really traumatic moment in my life. You had to kill it, couldn't eat anymore, it was suffering, you know. Pretty sure I threw it in the trash. I live in New York City, where the fuck am I gonna bury a lizard? You know, Central Park. It was under its eye, but it was so big it was getting into its mouth, so it couldn't swallow the food. You know, an average sized lizard, I don't know. Couldn't even tell you, this is over half my life ago. I'm very traumatized about, you know, lizard illnesses and whatnot. It's a tumor, is that cancer? Fuck that. Like a really big lizard. Yeah, we did it. Cool. Art, music, whatever. The lizards come first. So it was cool. We used to, you know, get drunk. Maybe make some art in between that, and then get drunk. And then after that, it was nostalgia about getting drunk. So New York was not a port city anymore at that point. Like, why would a boat be pulling into Roosevelt Island or where the fuck it was? I think that's where it was. I don't know. And the thing about New York is, like, you don't know what to expect on a day-to-day basis. I've seen 3 suicides in New York in the last 10 years. You see fucked up shit every day, and it kind of hardens you, you know? Like, it's shit you won't see anywhere else, you know? You hear about it, you read about it in the news, you know? But when you see it, you see a fucking person drop from a 30-story fucking high-rise and explode in the street. You see it, and you're like, that fucking sucks, and you throw up, and you feel sick for a minute, and then a day later you're back to doing bullshit, you know? It's like it never happened. And New York kind of hardens you like that. All those experiences that, you know, would really fuck someone else up don't really do shit to us. It's about how many facts you know about lizards. You know, if you meet somebody and they can talk about lizards for a while. What are you doing?
Okay. I work in the art industry. On like the back end of it. No, I absolutely think it's better. I mean, I've been on conference calls with people that I can't see their face at all, and my voice will always have to come off as more aggressive than it needs to be. But if you see that person, you tend to soften. I don't know, it might be a gender difference, because I do know that, you know, some of them will see the other male and act as aggressor or aggressive. Women, it can be the same way amongst other women, but women against men, we tend to bow down a bit more unless you're just like, you're in that powerful position that gives you that power over them inherently. There's a difference in the tonality, I think, because females in this industry tend to be looked down upon. So instead of seeing men and women as equal competitors, they tend to see other women as their direct competitors. Because this is where I see the difference. A male talking to a woman in this atmosphere is either going to see them as a person that they think is attractive or as a person that they don't want to insult unless they view them on some sort of male counterpart. Like that woman has made some amazing deals in the industry and she's respectable. That's what they view as a male. They'll think of them as a human if they can achieve their same accomplishments. Whereas if it's a male just talking to a woman that he sees as another woman, he's going to say, oh, the sensitive person, you know, let's either demoralize them down to the object that I think that they are, or just a woman that I don't want to insult, but it's probably because I don't think they're that attractive and I think they have nothing else going on in their lives. I would prefer to talk to a woman because I think you're going to get a more honest answer off the bat. And then I think if you were to be called back in for another sort of meeting point, it would be more along the lines of, oh, now I've seen this person do this, maybe my competitor, I'm going to downplay them a bit. So I think the first, the open door policy, I think most women would get a second chance when it is a female interviewer, and that, let's say, for the sake of this argument, 70% of men get the second chance. Like, if we're saying a second meeting or interview, yes, exactly. So I think the open door policy, a woman's going to get the foot in the door first versus a man. I'm going to say, like, let's say 90% of women to account for the era of people that suck, you know? And then there's men that are going to be 70%. So they have that, inherent 30% less chance. And then in the second opportunity, a woman that's interviewing you will scrutinize you even more because they're saying, okay, you've gotten this far, I need you to prove yourself to me. Whereas with a man, it's just more, it's still more met with, like, what are your merits for this? What are your prerequisite skills? I did the same thing. We had to hire an art handler, and we were looking for a woman. So it was my job to find somebody. We never found somebody because we decided that the position wasn't necessary, and that's the only reason. But we were looking for an art handler, and we thought it would be easier to get along with a woman because perhaps she would be more malleable in the long run to just get along with our personalities. Instead of running on the off chance of a man just not agreeing with us. Because I was the one that started running the interview. I wasn't the one who set the guidelines, but it was me who had to initially interview everybody. I mean, my boss would have, but primarily a female was sought out, which was an issue for, just the women working there. But it was like, okay, we understand why. The way it worked out is I would have vindicated for that person. I don't think it would have made any difference realistically to me, which is why it's hard to speak upon. I know what the qualifications were for that job. It should be for the qualifications first. And realistically, I should not be speaking about this right now because if anybody did know that was what the questions were behind the whole interview process, the first strike against me, like I didn't apply to this because I wouldn't have. And I don't have the experience. And then I showed up, and I could tell immediately that I was wearing like skinny, like dark pants and like this blazer with like zippers on the shoulders, like one zipper, two zipper. And she was wearing this, I don't know, like really preppy, like vineyard vines, like pattern nonsense. I showed up in like all black and she's wearing like pink and, oh my God, Lisa Frank just threw up in my reality right now. But I don't know. I had to meet with the director of exhibitions, who happened to be a man for that job, and she was so strict and derisive and just like a hot knife, through butter, or like a pit bull to like a baby puppy. I don't really know. Everybody is so technology based. You're also mobile. Maybe you don't talk to your friend in person every week. You have to communicate every other day via text, and maybe that doesn't add up to the same, quantifier. But I think it's just really nice to sit down because, for me, I came into this thinking, like I can have a conversation with a person, just throw some topics at me. But then as soon as it happened, I had to really stop and think, like, wow, have I ever had a conversation this in depth? I have, but how long has it been? I do definitely, I think I communicate a lot more in a technological setting or like a cyber way, because there's times that I just don't want to leave. I don't want to do the things that my friends are doing, so I just won't go hang out with them. So it's easier to just communicate in that like textual way, and that you see that and you take that for what it is. But then when you are actually having that face-to-face conversation, which I've been having more and more recently, just because people have been forcing me to like show myself. The first time in my life, I can tell you for fact, it was when my mom got us our Motorola phones. She got like the black version and I got the ice color. It was just this like little like brick phone that if you threw it on the ground, it would have never broken, but it was specifically called ice. And I wanted that phone, and the test was to my friend Renee, and I had her cell phone number because I would call it from my parents' phone, and it was saved in there. Those new like dome screened like local phones or for houses, and I called her from that, and I was like, "Did you get this?" Oh, I'm an only child, so that's probably why it's difficult, because I generally call my parents at least once or twice a week. I call them. My dad doesn't text. If he does, he'll get the text messages, but he doesn't respond. But with my mom, I'll text my mom and she'll text during the day. My dad's just a typical grumpy old, like 66-year-old man, so that's what that is. But if I communicate with my parents, it's by my mom's cell phone. We were just talking about how you felt about communication with like the younger, or like the higher 20s, but like younger 30s, like demographic. That's what I remember. So for you, if you just want to let me know what you're gonna fire at me, I can do it. I mean, to be honest, there's like a lot of space in this room right now, but for me, this is like, damn, this person has a lot of space in the room right now. Holy shit, they haven't even tried to get their rent back for their like monthly deposit that day. But also, I think like millennials in the summer, we're just like, fuck it. Just like get your shit down paid. We're gonna cover it. We're gonna have this party and we're gonna figure it out when we can figure it out, because we're turning 30 or we're turning something that's close enough to 30, like 29, 31. Just fuck it. Like, that's how people are at this point. I don't know. I mean, everybody just wants to be able to have something to say, and they'll use any sort of soapbox to get their point across. And I think like 30 is a good year to make that start to happen. Just to make sure.